Hello, welcome to the Combat Chats podcast. Today we're going to be talking about this week's, or should I say last week's, UFC card, UFC Fight Night Blachowicz versus Rakić. Very exciting card, really good card actually. Lots of knockouts, a few submissions. As well as that, before we go on to the main card, which we're going to be primarily covering today, we're going to discuss the Michael Johnson fight. Now, obviously Michael Johnson, he's not fought in a good few years, and the way he came back, he looked really sharp. I think Finn had a lot to say on this particular fight, so if you just go ahead for us, Finn.
Yeah, so it was Michael Johnson's first fight in a while, and we even when he has fought recently, we haven't seen Michael Johnson involved, because we saw his fight with Clay Guida and that didn't go his way, and Josh Emmett knocked him out very bad. So it's been a long time since we saw a vintage Michael Johnson, and coming into this fight, I thought he'd have the advantage because his speed. And Alan Patrick's very, very, wild. He leaves himself open.
Oh, definitely so.
Yeah, so I knew he'd have the speed advantage and he'd land the nicer shots. But Alan Patrick hits very hard. He's got a lot of knockouts. So, yeah, my voice, man.
So it's a really interesting, about lightweight. It's hard to say who it's going to go to. Obviously, Michael Johnson, when was his last win? 2016?
Yeah. No. He's won after that, but that was his last knockout win.
His last knockout win. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. But used to be, some of his knockouts like mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just going to be a challenging fight, and it was interesting to see how he do. As I said, Alan Patrick, very, very wild fighter. Hits hard, so does Michael Johnson, clearly, from the result. But it was a really interesting one to watch. Watching the fight, watching Michael Johnson go into it, he starts off looking very sharp, and I didn't know if I expected to see that level of sharpness. I don't know if you predicted this one last week.
We didn't speak about it last week. I don't think.
No, but the way he started off just sharp. We saw a lot of what felt like Michael Johnson, from a few years back. And he did really well during the fight, to keep going forward. Alan Patrick, fair enough, also quite fierce.
Yeah.
Not too bad on the ground either. When they come down to it. But yeah, it was a really, really good fight. Really impressive knockout as well. What was it, round 3?
It was near the end of round 2, and I think all the commentators were talking about the fighter meetings and saying how motivated Michael Johnson looked to come back and perform in this fight, because even when he has fought, like I said, he has not been himself, and we haven't seen him really throw down and knock anyone out since I think Poirier was his last knockout, if I'm not wrong, but that's a very long time ago, and for a guy to be known as a very hard hitter, very quick, he said in the Hawani show, he prides himself on his knockout power, and to go that long without a knockout would have been really playing on his mind. So it's going to benefit him so much going forward to get that knockout on his record and get back in the winning column. He said recently, he almost forgot what it's like to win, and I can imagine for a guy like that would be a horrible feeling.
Oh, definitely so. I mean, as you said, Dustin Poirier was his last knockout, which was in 2016,
and that's crazy,
Oh yeah, it's insane. Yeah, 100%.
He can lose to one fighter who's never been ranked in the top 10, and then beat Tony Ferguson and beat Poirier and beat people like this. Is one fight he can turn up the best in the world, and the next fight he can turn up looking like a non-ranked fighter, so.
I mean, it's really quite interesting because, this being his first win in 5 fights, not having won a fight since 2019 prior to this, really impressive. Josh Emmett, Stephen Ray, Thierry Moises and Clay Guida. Yeah. I mean, it must have definitely been something, he put a bit of pressure on himself about, because, to definitely be in that position, you want to get back to winning. He's not a poor fighter, yes, he's got quite a few losses on his record. His wins and losses, aren't far off each other, 20 wins, 17 losses. But if you look at his 17 losses, a lot of them have been very, very recently. I mean, prior to that, he was consistently winning. Maybe a loss every 3 or 4 fights, 2 or 3 fights, and some of his, slightly poorer spells.
He's always fought the best as well. If you look at the losses, he's lost to Khabib, he's lost to some of the best fighters of his time as well.
I mean, definitely. I mean, if you look at how old he was fighting, he was fighting, not in the UFC back in 2008. In the UFC, he was fighting, as early as he was Jonathan Brookins in 2010.
Yeah.
So, someone fighting back in 2010, that was a good 12 years ago now.
I remember Tough when he first came through and he was just wrestling guys. He came a long way since then.
Definitely. So, I mean, Joe Lazon.
Yeah.
2013, another great of a game. You know, so he's not been having easy fights. Edson Barboza in 2015, decision unanimous. So he's done really well for himself, you know, and hopefully, you know, obviously he's quite an older guy now.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to be fighting the UFC for 12 years, for goodness sake. But it should be really, really interesting to see how he comes back from this.
Yeah.
And see if he decides to not necessarily progress his career, but, you know, really, really continue it in, you know, the way he feels like he should be, the way we feel like he should be, winning and performing some nice KOs, you know. What do you think of the KO itself?
Yeah, well, it was a beautiful KO there. I think watching the first round, you could always see that punch was there. So when he caught him with it, I wasn't surprised at all. So when he landed it, obviously I was ecstatic for him because I really wanted to see him get back in the win column with a KO, and I think he can move on and go far from here. I really think we can, with confidence back in his game, we can see him get some good wins under his belt before he retires. I do think that. I'd
definitely say we do really want to continue to see this because it was very, very impressive, you know, and it was nice to see. It was really good to see. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the next fight, if you will.
Yeah, so the next fight, which one was it? Oh yeah, so we'll go on to the main card from here. So obviously the English young kid, Jake Hadley, he really struggled in this fight to open it up. He got taken down a few times. What was the guy's name he fought? I won't be able to pronounce it. I'll butcher it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing it myself.
Yeah.
Alan Nascimento, maybe.
Yeah, that is it.
Could that be it? Sorry, my Portuguese isn't too good.
No, that is actually his name. You nailed that.
Yeah.
Nascimento. He was able to control Hadley on the ground for a lot of the fight. And it started off, Hadley was like putting on pressure early on the feet, looking to get him with the boxing, but Nascimento's kicks were a big problem for Hadley.
Definitely so.
The jiu-jitsu just played part. He took him down in the fight and controlled him. Hadley was looking for a lot of submissions, but it just wasn't working. He should have been looking to wrestle instead, in my opinion.
See, it's an interesting one, really, because, you know, obviously English fighters, you know, that's what we really want to promote. That's what we really want to talk a lot about, because obviously we're English ourselves, and we want to see MMA continue to develop how it is developing. Obviously, you know, we had a couple of English fighters on this card.
Yeah.
You know, but as far as the fight was concerned, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think Hadley necessarily performed poorly.
No.
I just don't think he was doing the right things. At the end of the day, you know, he's a good fighter. He's got a record of 8-0, which is, you know, pretty impressive. Like, it doesn't.
8-1 now.
Well, 8-1 now. Yeah. After that, unfortunately, it could have been 9-0, but you know, who knows? Another day. But I don't think he performed poorly. I think he just wasn't doing the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that, you know, he has got a bright future. He's quite young. Was he 25?
Yeah, something around that. And I've not had many fights at all in MMA. That was his UFC debut, so he's got a lot of time to grow in the sport.
I mean, it's interesting hearing him talk, though, because when you look at, you know, Jake Hadley, you know, I think it's something like age 7. He said he wanted to be a UFC champion.
Yeah.
Or age 8, you know, which I could be incorrect in saying that, but I feel like
it was a young age. It was a young age. Yeah.
Very young age, and he didn't take up martial arts as teens. He's always been a martial artist. And I think that, you know, that's so ingrained in him. I can see him continuing to climb and trying to progress himself. And I think that he is going to be a really good fighter in the future.
Yeah.
You know, even watch that performance, yes, it wasn't a win, but he didn't perform poorly. You know, there's a lot of, it's a big learning curve. The UFC is a big, you know, big tournament. It's considered the best sporting organisation in the world, for goodness sake.
Definitely.
So I think it's going to take him a little while, but I think when he does really get to grips with it, when he does, you know, develop maybe a bit more knowledge on, you know, what to do in certain situations when the fight's not quite going his way, a lot of it could be due to lack of experience. Yes, he's a very good martial artist, but fighting in a way like that, it's difficult to do if you're not a UFC fighter, or if you're not consistently fighting against fighters at that high level.
Yeah.
I think once he develops a bit more knowledge and maybe, you know, has a bit more, you know, sits in the corner or whatever it may be, on how to fight in those situations when it is kind of not going his way, I think that he will be doing much, much better. I mean, honestly, it's a shame really, because I would have liked to have seen another English win.
Yeah.
But regardless.
The thing is Nascimento was taking him down a lot of will, but I don't feel like that's because Jake Hadley can't wrestle or doesn't have great BJJ, because like you said perfectly, I think the main flaw in this fight for him was the lack of experience, because every time he got taken down, he wasn't really looking to sweep. He was more looking for the rub. Like, if you remember, he was just getting him in that rubber guard constantly, and he was looking to set up a lot of submissions. I think a couple Google platters at one point, and he did have his points in the third round. He took his back, and he got locked in a couple guillotines in that round as well. But he was just too high on the back, and to be honest, there's not a lot to talk about during this fight because he was just controlled for a lot of it.
I mean, it's one of those things, you get controlled, lack of experience, maybe didn't quite know, what to do in that situation, how to try and recover it. And obviously the scoring card was, it's very favourable of that control. Yeah. It's very favourable of, not just takedowns, but, control, something which a lot of people, tend to forget about. Control is a big point gainer.
Yeah.
And I think that, watching, the amount of times he was controlled, the points we've just been racking up and whatnot, maybe if you try something different, it can be different. But as I said, lack of experience, he'll know what to do next time. But overall, not a bad fight, generally okay.
I feel like every time Jake did get on top, the leg locks from Nascimento were causing Jake a lot of problems. So a lot of the time he escaped from the bottom, it was because he was grabbing a leg, and Jake had to scramble to try and get out of those bad positions. So Nascimento, for Jake's first fight in the UFC, is a really hard matchup, and you can see why Nascimento had Oliveira in his corner, because his grappling control was insane. It was really good. It impressed me.
I mean, as you said, first UFC fight, right? I don't think people are aware of the percentage of fighters who lose on their UFC debut.
Yeah.
I think last week, prior to the Fernie Garcia fight on the prelims, it was something like, I say last week, a week beforehand, but obviously we always do this a week afterwards, just so we have a few days. I think it's something like 57% of UFC fighters, the stat would have gone up now, obviously. 57% of UFC fighters lose on their debut. And there's a reason for it, because the fighters in the UFC are of a different caliber. Everyone's there for a reason. And obviously the standard, yes, obviously there are some organisations in the world, in the MMA world, in which will have also high level fighters. But the majority of these organisations, they come through, they do well. When you enter the UFC, you don't necessarily enter the UFC as a fighter who's destined to be a top 10 fighter. You enter the UFC because, chances are you're probably young, or you're showing a lot of potential. I mean, maybe, you come from someone like ONE FC or Bellator, where you have a lot to your name. For the most part, these are people who are going to be, future investments in the UFC, people who are going to get better. Especially when you're at the age 25 as well. Obviously, age 25 in the UFC world is nothing really, especially considering the prime is like, what, in their 30s, really.
32, something around there.
So yeah, anyway, moving on. The next fight was?
It was Frank Camacho versus, what was it, Emmanuel Torres. And this fight was, for the round it lasted, Emmanuel Torres isn't like, he's an animal. He always comes in looking for a knockout. And he started this fight the same. He started brawling straight away. You could see the speed advantage he had. Camacho's defense has failed him at times in the past, and he took a lot of time off due to an injury, and he'd worked on his defense a lot in the time he had off, and you could tell because he was getting hit with bombs straight away. And Camacho started landing back. He looked to wrestle a little bit, but Emmanuel Torres, God, he impressed me so much. Like, the hooks coming from his hips, it's just so fast. They're so like easy to disguise because how low they come from. So Camacho really struggled dealing with that, like really bad.
I mean, it's always going to be a difficult fight when you come against a striker like that, who's a bit of a brawler, who can put the pressure on, and put the pressure on early.
Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, it's one of the reasons why this card was so great. There were so many good knockouts. There were so many, powerful brawlers and whatnot. Not necessarily all brawlers, but a lot of them very, powerful stand-up guys. And it did result in a lot of knockouts because of it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I thought that he did really, really well. He was very quick to the point. And at the end of the day, pressure, that's hard to deal with. It doesn't matter what level of experience you are, it's very hard to deal with. Overall, it was a very good fight. He was very good with his jabs.
Yeah.
Very, very good with everything, really, But, threw a lot of very strikes as well.
Yeah, a lot of different combinations of his hands, like hitting with clean, hurting bad with an uppercut. The hooks, like I said, the combination to get the knockout. Do you remember I think he come with the right hook and then caught him with the left hook straight after, both just clean across the chin. Dropped him very badly. Yeah, it was brutal. It's a quick fight. There wasn't much to say about it, but like everyone needs to keep their eye on Emmanuel Torres.
I'm really seeing a lot of fighters like that nowadays. A lot of fighters, who are relatively new to the sport. I mean, every UFC card is stacked from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost every single UFC card you look on, they're absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
Even stuff like the prelims, early prelims, absolutely stacked. Obviously, we typically only tend to go the main card because there's so much to say about the main card.
Yeah,
You'd be here for 3 hours otherwise. But honestly, there's a lot of up and comers coming. A lot of fighters who have maybe been doing it for a little bit longer than others. A lot of them who are brand new to it. But there's a lot of exciting fighters coming through, and I think that he's definitely going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next fights.
The next fight was Amanda Ribas versus Caitlin Chookagian, and this fight was very is it contentious? Is that the word I'm looking for?
I reckon.
Yeah, because I was scrolling through Twitter after the fight, and a lot of people were arguing that Ribas was robbed. But personally, I scored. The first and second round were very similar because it was Caitlin landing big shots on the feet. She's one of the best range fighters in the women's division. Like, even in the Shevchenko fight, and in my opinion, Shevchenko is the best women's champion on the planet. You can see she didn't want to stand with Caitlin for long. She took her down. Because you can't let Caitlin Chookagian get control on the feet because she takes over so well. She uses really nice kicks. Her 1-2s are so long. She can connect from any distance, just coming in with those 1-2s. And Ribas was really struggling to deal with it. And then she got the takedown in both rounds. It was the judo throw. And I remember hearing Caitlin say before the fight, she isn't going to get me with that stupid judo throw of hers.
Yeah.
And both rounds got put down with the judo throw. And she controlled for, I think, 4 minutes in those 2 rounds, about 2 minutes in each round. But it wasn't massive damage. There wasn't a lot of submission attempts. And I gave Caitlin the first 2 rounds just because she landed a few big shots on the feet.
Okay, very interesting one. I mean, yeah, a lot of controversy about robbery. Watching it, wasn't too much for robbery.
Nah.
Let's be honest, obviously, you can always make the persuasion, and it's always going to be subjective. Watching it, obviously, judges are always going to score it differently no matter what judge it is.
Yeah.
Yes, there may be a clear, settled guide on how to score a fight, but it's never going to be the exact same. If you were to get 100 judges into the room, they're all scoring it relatively differently.
Yeah.
Some might be similar, they might all be similar, but it's all subjective. But I just say, going back to judo, I mean, I think that's who was it? Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, Ronda was
absolutely
so good at judo.
And I mean, it's really interesting to see because obviously, women's MMA may have not been to the standard it is today back then, but it's still to a good standard. And I think that judo is such an underrated discipline, and obviously it's not as commonly trained by martial artists as the likes of jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai for pretty obvious reasons. Those are the primary disciplines you want to know as well as wrestling. But I think that judo, it definitely has a place in MMA. And if you're good at judo, a lot of those skills do cross over, and a lot of them do make very, very good MMA fighters. You look at Ronda Rousey, for example. It was her judo which got her to where she was. Obviously, Holly Holm came along.
Yeah.
Ended it. But regardless, it's definitely an effective discipline, and I think that it was amazing, really. So
yeah, it was. Judo for Ronda was so dominant. You look at the fight she had, where so many early finishes just through judo throws. She was very good at dominating from side guards. In my opinion, she's definitely the best judo fighter we've seen in the UFC by far. Some people are really good at it. We have Kyla Harrison in a different organisation. I think it's PFL. She just signed to again. And everyone was really hoping she'd come and fight Amanda Nunes because she looks like a killer. She just can't get the competition outside of the UFC. But yeah, Ronda really set a pathway for women's MMA to come through and showed a way of dominance through the division.
I mean, definitely. So, obviously, Ronda Rousey, she's a bit of WWE and whatnot, but I feel like there aren't many names which you'd hear from, if you weren't necessarily a fan of MMA, there aren't many names you hear from the outside world in which you think to yourself, oh yeah, I recognise that, because everyone knows Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
At that time, when she was coming up, when she was really performing, that's when the UFC began to start growing. Obviously, it still is growing, but it's massive at the moment. Thankfully, so everyone needs to be watching this.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, I think that judo is one of the things which I find amazing about judo is that it's really good at utilising your body weight and theirs. You haven't necessarily got to be a bigger guy than them. You haven't even got to be the same size. And obviously, although UFC weight classes are generally quite close knit, you know, for a good reason. Obviously, you know, there's more than enough people to fill them, and you want it to be as fair as possible. But I think in some weight classes there is such a big difference in size,
especially
you know?
at the heavier ones.
Oh yeah, 100%. But even then, you know, looking at lightweights, like what's the minimum for lightweight?
155.
155. What's the max?
Well, I think it's roughly the same. Well, minimum for lightweight, I'm not actually sure, but they roughly have to weigh in at the same. I think there's like a pound difference you're allowed.
Still, though, regardless, you know, with stuff like the cutting, the hydration, the dehydration, rehydration. If you're coming at somebody, you know, like, Brazilian, very light guy.
Figueiredo.
If you're going at someone like Figueiredo, for example, you know, he's fighting a lot heavier than you.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, he's not going to be as sharp, and he's not going to be as on it because he is severely dehydrated and he's just rehydrated himself to some extent.
Yeah.
You know, that size difference is a big difference, and obviously maybe that's then an opportunity to then really use those judo throws because as hard as it is, they're going to have a harder time dealing with it. And if it's something you're not used to typically, you know, trying to combat against because, you know, you're more worried about, you know, stuff like your traditional wrestling takedowns and whatnot, obviously at the UFC they're prepared for it all. But if it's something, you know, you're not prepared for, then I think it could be very, very beneficial knowing judo and really developing it. And as you said, you know, this fight which we just watched, I think that, you know, it was interesting to see how big an impact it had.
Yeah, I think the way you could score it for Ribas is because of those judo throws, and she uses it very well, Amanda Ribas. She's very good at using the judo. So yeah, that was an excellent fight. Like Amanda Ribas, and she won the last round, I in my opinion. But she was just walking her down at the end, screaming, throwing back kicks. She's a warrior, and I'm really excited to see them both fight again. Shikugan gets a lot of hate because she's not a finisher. She gets a lot of decisions, but yeah, I really enjoy watching her fight. She's really good from range. She uses a lot of traditional techniques. It's really entertaining in my opinion.
I definitely so. I mean, a lot of people want to watch, you know, these fighters for stuff like the knockouts and whatnot, and everybody loves a good knockout, assuming that's not, you know, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson. No one enjoyed watching that. Well, maybe Chandler did on the way back, but
Chandler did.
yeah. Oh mate, he was loving it, backflips and everything. Honestly,
1, 2, 3, 4.
But no. When it comes down to, you know, fighters like Shikugan, it's really, really good. You know, watching their technical ability and watching a fight go to decision. If it's a class fight like this one was, and when there's so much technique and skill and, you know, traditional martial art based technique, you know, which a lot of these fighters do tend to have nowadays, you know, they always have, but, you know, it's really coming back now. It's not just your conventional, you know, good on the feet boxing, throw a few leg kicks. It's really entertaining to watch, and I'd happily watch 15 minutes of that.
Yeah, same. I enjoyed every minute of that fight.
Oh, definitely so.
Good. Yeah, so going on to the next fight, we had another Englishman, Davy Grant versus Lewis Schmolka. What did you think of this fight?
Honestly, really, really good fight. I mean, Davy Grant is an absolute animal. You know, Schmolka as well. Like, fair play to take. Yeah, I was going to say, to take that much impact, that much force over and over again for what was it, 2 or 3 rounds straight?
Yeah, I think it was the third round it finished.
Early third round, that was it. You know, to be able to take that for 3 rounds or two rounds and a bit, you know, like, fair play, because he was getting hit with some hard shots watching it, you know. And I think that you know, Davey is just so good on the feet.
Yeah,
it was amazing to watch. You know, those shots he was firing. You know, he's firing bombs. He's throwing out the diag. Honestly, it was amazing to watch. Really good performance. Schmolka as well had his moments. During the counter during the first round, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, even when he wasn't countering, just striking in general, I thought that he was landing some good shots, and he was also landing some heavy shots as well.
Yeah,
like, they were not light shots; they weren't, you know, quick 1-2s or whatever it was. They were powerful strikes, you know, way of Davey. But I think that Davey did so well. It's great to see another English fighter doing well. Yeah, you know, maybe not miscard necessarily. You know, obviously what happened earlier on. You know, experience and whatnot. But just in general, you know, we've had some really good English fights in the UFC. And it's just a really good fight to watch. You know, it's a good knockout as well. Pretty brutal. Like, you were watching Smokey's face, you know, he was gone.
He was out cold.
Honestly, eyes twitching and everything. Horrible, honestly.
Yeah, my thoughts on this fight were that I think Schmolka came in and didn't anticipate my mind's gone blank. What's his name? Davy Grant. Sorry, that was weird.
Can't be forgetting anything.
Yeah, innit?
Come on.
But yeah, he did not expect Davy Grant to have the onslaught early on that he did, because everything Grant throws is from the hips. A bit like Torres, they both swing so hard early. The calf kicks were terrible. Like, he destroyed his leg, and that was the finishing sequence that happened. Obviously he hit him with a low leg kick, followed him down, landed some brutal ground and pound and put him out cold. I think Davy Grant is a very talented fighter. I think he can go far in this bantamweight division. I think his last fight was Chito Vera, if I'm not wrong, and that was a war. Like, Davy Grant does not get in easy. He does not take any easy fights. Davy Grant had a very good first round, and Cheetah came back and edged it, winning the last two. But like, Grant puts on all-out wars every time, and like, he's got such a different, diverse attacking style. The front kicks down the middle, and he has had some tough losses. It was Adrian Yanez and Chito Vera. I can't remember which way round it was. Do you remember? It was I think Adrian Yanez might have been his last loss.
I think it might have been. They were very close together, I believe. I believe it was only a few months there, both last year. But yeah, very close together.
But I mean, Adrian for me is like, I love that guy. Watching him fight, he's one of the best counter punchers in the UFC. And Davy Grant, I don't think he got finished by him and went all 3 rounds. He's so tough, and I think he's already fought some of the best this division has to offer, so I can only see him going further from here.
I mean, it should be really interesting. I would listen to him go further. He's quite an old guy, 36 years of age.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see what he could do in that bantamweight decision. He hits hard.
So hard.
Very hard, especially in that bantamweight decision, so I think he could do well. Obviously, I don't know how much more he had in him fight-wise. Not that he looks like he's slowing down. He really does not look like he's slowing down at all. But obviously, what's going on, with him physiologically and whatnot, being 30 years of age, not too sure. But it should be really exciting. Very exciting to watch for him, and I would like to see him rack up a few more fights, even if it, just because obviously he's English, promote the name, but also so he can do well for himself, because that bantamweight division is very good.
And Schmolka had his moments in that. I mean, one thing that I would say about Davy Grant is he went so hard early on that he started to slow down in the second, mid-second round. Cause
definitely, he was looking a lot more sluggish when he
and Schmolka started to land some nice body shots coming back into the fight, but that calf kick caught up to him, and in the third round he destroyed his leg with that. I think Dominic Cruz said just before, and if he takes one more of those calf kicks, it could be done, and bang, he slams him with another one, and
I feel like it's literally the final words he said before the final calf kick.
Seconds.
And he goes out, what commentary are there? The fact you can predict that so well, that shows the expertise of a UFC fighter.
I say that redeems Dominic Cruz for the time he said Conor was letting Khabib tire himself out when he just ground and pounded him.
I mean, one way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's the right way.
That was a bit of a weird take, but we'll move on from that.
It's fine. Not everyone says the right perfect thing per time, you know what I mean? So.
But yeah, I think even though Davy Grant's age, I think he's still got a big few fights left in him. I think we'll see him break into the rankings and have at least 1 or 2 big more fights. Of
course. He's from up Manchester way, isn't he?
Yeah.
SGB Manchester.
Yeah. He's sounds very northern when he speaks.
Yeah, definitely so.
Even we find it hard to understand him sometimes.
To be fair. Yeah. Who was next?
So next on the card, another short fight. So we had Ryan Spann versus Kutalaba, and 2 very, very explosive guys, and the fight started off just like that. They both came out and traded, both landed straight punches, and the noise of the sound when it connected, it just like you could hear it slap around the arena. It was 2 very powerful guys, and Kutalaba started off very well with the wrestling, being able to control Ryan Spann and really just try to get that out of the way, because Ryan Spann looked massive compared to Kutalaba.
Oh yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, he's so big.
Guy. Yeah.
Like I think he could probably make heavyweight if he wanted to. And I'm not sure, but he's very big, and Kutalaba had a big height disadvantage to try find a way around, and he was doing very well getting in with the wrestling.
Oh, definitely so. I mean, watching Kutalaba early in the fight, it was hard to decide who'd be a clear winner. Watching from the get-go in that first minute, so I thought Kutalaba looked really good, really strong. You know, Ryan Spann, he looked very energetic. I liked how he was moving his upper body a lot. Very evasive, you know, his hand movement, you know, moving up and down toward the torso. His head movement as well was very, very good and very, very energetic. I mean, it's a really interesting fight to watch. You know, Kutalaba, I wanted the fight to go on for maybe a little bit longer. That's just me personally, you know. I thought about, you know, we had a lot to see from both fighters, really. The result was a result. Not a bad fight at all. You know, impressive performance from Ryan Spann, and a very impressive performance from Kutalaba. Shame it could have gone for a little bit longer, in my opinion. But
I think Kutalaba, even though that fight ended as quick as it did, in his last 2 fights, he has done what I've been screaming for him to do for a long time now, and that's use his wrestling. I think he's a Sambo champion. I'm not 100% sure about that. But,
okay.
But so he's always had a big grappling advantage on people that he doesn't like to use. He just goes out and tries to knock people out. But I mean, he battered Devin Clark from his guard, took him down, and really inflicted a lot of damage, knocked his teeth out, and in this one he looked to wrestle again, but Ryan Spann has one of the nastiest front hand guillotines in the game. It's not like he doesn't lock it in with his bicep. It's like kind of hands under the chin and he pulls it up. It's quite an awkward guillotine, but it works so well for him. We've seen him snatch it up a few times in the UFC now, and he really impresses me. I think we've heard a lot of people talk about his mindset and it could be better, but I think, like he said, if his mind's right, he's one of the best 205ers on the planet, and I've got to agree with that.
Oh, definitely so. I mean, Ryan Spann, you know, as he said, you know, that guillotine.
Yeah.
He's very good, very good. He's a massive guy, you know, and you're going to have a hard time on the ground because of it.
Yeah.
You know, he's a big guy. It was a really impressive performance, you know. I mean, only 2 minutes. Like I said, I would like to see it a bit longer, but it was very good, you know. Good performance from Ryan Spann, you know, good performance from Kutalaba as well. I think Kutalaba could have done so much more if the fight were to progress. But obviously, you know, it's hard. Maybe he should have utilised some of his wrestling as well. That could have really benefited him because, you know, obviously Ryan Spann's such a big guy, you know, getting hit by him, like, nah.
Yeah,
you don't want that, you know what I mean? But
he did well to land some of the takedowns, but it was just the strength disadvantage, and that's weird because Kutalaba is stronger than most guys he fights, but Ryan Spann he's a beast. He's so naturally athletic and gifted that just that alone could make him go far in heavier divisions, and he's very skillful, got a good ground game, very, very powerful hands. So like I generally think we'll see him go on and fight. Maybe not for a title, but you never know. Could fight for a title. Glover's just come back after getting knocked out in his prime multiple times and become world champion. So Ryan Spann has a very bright future ahead of him.
Oh, definitely so. Moving on to the next fight.
Next fight is the main event, and a disappointing one to say the least.
Oh yeah, definitely so.
The first round, Jan Blachowicz versus Rakić. It was a very, very close first round. I gave it to Blachowicz just because he's very good at checking those leg kicks, and I mean the jab straight away from Rakić. Did you see the cut in the eye? Like,
oh yeah, it
was like a hole in the side of his eye. It was brutal.
Very nasty, very nasty. Lots of blood there.
Yeah. So I think I gave Blachowicz the first round. He landed some nice big hooks. But Rakić managing to secure the takedown in the second and control him from there. What's your thoughts on it?
So I thought about the fight, you know, it was very good. Obviously, you know, I expected for it to. I didn't know which way it was going to go, if I'm honest with you, because Blahowicz, you know, he's a very heavy hitter. He's an absolute brute when it comes down to fighting. Rakić, you know, I think the way the fight I predicted to go, I thought about, you know, it'd be very much of Rakić keeping a bit of leg kicks.
Yeah.
And I think that he did try and use leg kick at times, but, you know, Blahowicz, he's a different beast. He's a completely, you know, he's something else, you know, and I mean, although, yes, that might have worked with some other fighters, you know, a fighter like Blahowicz, you're going to have a hard time doing that with. I thought that, you know, generally, you know, I thought Rakić very sharp, Blahowicz, you know, looking like he always does.
Yeah.
You know, looking to try and, you know, climb that way back up to, you know, maybe potentially being in line for a title shot, which would be amazing to see him, you know, champion once again. But I thought that, you know, I thought that it wasn't quite how I wanted to go. I wanted to see a bit more of, you know, Rakić. I think that when anything like an injury like that, you know, you can't fight with that. That's not something you can even try and push forward through, because an ACL. And watching the replay as well, the way that popped, oh my god, like that did not look comfortable whatsoever. The fact that it popped out of place and put back in, there was no way he was standing up after that.
I mean, Rakić will be out for a long time now. Like,
ACLs are like months and months, aren't they? Like
a good year.
A lot of them last like 9 months or something. You know what I mean? Like, so.
I mean, sometimes it's better just for a clean break. Sometimes it actually is. Than these muscle injuries.
I mean, ligament tears, isn't it?
Terrible. It's horrible to see.
And then when they come back, they're never as strong as they could be. So who's to say this isn't going to impact his career? Hopefully not. But you never know.
Such a kick-heavy guy as well. He relies a lot on those kicks, and we've seen Santos since that John Jones fight where he ripped every muscle in his leg possible, and we have not seen him the same since. It's a horrible way to end the fight. I don't know who was going to win the fight. In my opinion, Blachowicz would slowly get into him, like the leg kick, especially. You saw the welt on the side of Rakic's leg it was gruesome at the point of the third round, and Rakić did well with the wrestling, but I don't think Jan would have let that happen again, really. So I'd love to see that fight again, but it's going to be so long and so much can happen in the space of 9 months to a year that I don't think we're going to see that match up again, which is a shame.
I mean, it's a real shame, really, because I thought Rakić was doing very well. I mean, I think he was on route to win the fight.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought he was, definitely edging it by quite some bit. So, I mean, it's a shame to see it end how it has ended. Obviously, it does happen. It's a combat sport. Fighters take a lot of impact on all of their joints, all of their body. But it's a shame, really, because I thought Rakić was really impressive, and hopefully this doesn't impact his career too negatively. Obviously, not using your leg for a good few months. He might be able to use it, a little bit, during the recovery process, but it's not going to be as strong as it was before, and not for a long time. So hopefully, time will be favourable to him. Hopefully we'll have, a bit more time in the game. I'd like to see him definitely come back when he can, and I want to see him get back to that point, because it's going to be hard, a division like that, which is constantly growing. It's going to be hard to see him, come straight back into it.
So many youngsters up and coming in that division as well. Like, we got Yuri about to have his title fight, and he's only had 2 fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
And we got Jamal Hill, who's coming up, and brutal knockout over Johnny Walker last time out. I think he's got a fight against Thiago Santos booked in. So there's a lot of hype in that division coming through, and it's going to be hard for Rakić to jump straight back in the picture. If there's any guy in that division who could do it, it will be Rakić, because he's so talented on the feet. I think he's had 11 fights in the UFC and lost 1. I think that might be correct, or around that. And the fight he did lose was a very contentious split decision. So, it's a shame. It really bummed me out that day, because the fight was playing out very well. It was really good, like, exchanges they were having on the feet, both slamming each other's legs for the whole 3 rounds. And I just wanted to know how it would have went if it went another 2, but shame we didn't get to see it.
I mean, it's one of those things, it does happen, unfortunately, and it's a shame that it did happen to Rakić, it's a shame that it did happen in the main event, but just for Rakić in general. But anyway, moving on, I honestly thought that was a really, really good card. What I'm going to do now is that Finn, this weekend, went to watch for Bellator in London.
Yeah.
How was it?
Honestly, this was the first MMA event I've been to. So me and my brother and my friend Kieran we all went up to London, and the atmosphere. We were there to watch MVP. Paul Daly on it. I think it was his retirement fight. Knocked out an absolute killer from Brazil. Like,
wow,
knocked him out. It was a very bad knockout. But the atmosphere, the people. We met so many people. We saw Paul Daly out in the town afterwards in London.
Oh yeah.
The podcast is out late this week, because honestly I haven't fully recovered from that weekend yet. It was a bit of a rough one, but yeah, it was so fun. The thing I didn't realise is the music in the arena is so loud. Like,
oh, really?
It's like a rave in between rounds. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Fair play.
Yeah, it was. The main event was a bit lackluster in the end. MVP just got held down for a lot of it. So
what, as anticipated, or?
Yeah. He was fighting Logan Storley, who I think he's like a 4-time state champion or something like that. So
wow, yeah.
And we've seen MVP wrestle not so good before. MVP, there was nothing on the feet that he could do to MVP, but yeah, he got outstruck very badly. But it was a great weekend, great night. The FA Cup final, if you're an English fan, was the next day. So watching that on the way home, because we couldn't stay in London for any longer, we had to get back. So yeah, it was a really good weekend.
Oh, fair enough. That's really good to hear. So, watching MVP, obviously it wasn't quite what you expected. Did you see, like, what do you think of him, though?
He's so he's so confident, the way his walk-ins and just the energy of the crowd when he comes in. It was electric. Like, a lot of people were there to see MVP fight, and you could tell a lot of people were pissed off when he lost. There was a lot of boos. Story wasn't too happy. I think he was threatening people in the crowd and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bit toxic afterwards.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did what he had to do to win. I wasn't annoyed at the fight. I kind of knew it'd play out like that, to be honest. I'd love to go see MVP fight again. Like, next time he fights, hopefully it's in the UK and we can both go up together and we'll make a little podcast about it then.
I mean, I mean, it should be interesting. Like, good thing about Bellator is that, a lot of it is held in the UK. Or they hold a lot more in the UK than a lot of other events. Other than obviously the UK based companies.
Yeah, like Cage Warriors.
But I know there's one coming up in, I think, like Colchester soon, so. Yeah. Or that could be something different, I could be getting out wrong match stuff off the top of my head.
There's one in Dublin.
Across the, so, I mean...
Boys on tour.
I mean, it was really, it's really interesting to hear about that, sounded like a really, really good weekend.
It was cool seeing Paul Daly afterwards. Like, it was, we were out in central London after, and he was in his suit celebrating. I'm pretty sure it was him. We didn't go up because we didn't want to, invade his night, but...
of course.
It was an awesome weekend. It was really good.
Oh, fair enough. What was the Paul Daly fight like?
So the first round he was struggling quite a bit. He got taken down. I think it was like a heel hook he almost got caught in, and
okay.
So the first round wasn't going so well. We were actually, the people sat in front of us were actually training partners of Paul Daly. So
wow.
So we were chatting to them all night, and we could see the nerves on their face in that first round.
Yeah.
But on it, he said afterwards in the interview, he was like, there was no way he was leaving this arena without a knockout win. It just wasn't possible in his head.
Yeah, no, of course.
You could see that the knockout was brutal. He hurt him to the body with a left hook. He drops him with it, and he's hitting him against the cage. The guy stands up, and he actually knocks him out with the right hook. So he's been famous his whole career for the left hook knockout, but he gets one with the right hook, and he made that known. He was like, I've got a lot of knockouts with my right hand too, so people need to remember that.
Oh, fair enough. Well, that's really interesting to hear, Finn. I'd love to go to a Bellator event. Hopefully we'll be into an MMA event soon. Hopefully.
Definitely.
Don't know which one it will be, but it should be very exciting. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed. This has been the Combat Chatters podcast. If you're still on the website, then you'll have all the links to our socials and whatnot, so be sure to follow us there. Next week we will be talking about this week's card, so it should be a really exciting one. And
in the future, we do want to try and look at getting 2 podcasts in a week, because we both spend a lot of time doing breakdowns on the card throughout the week, so it's hard to fit both cards in one podcast. Like today, we don't have much time, so we've got a shoot off right now, so we can't talk about next week's card. But hopefully in the future we'll have one podcast out on like Tuesday, maybe one out on Thursday. Try get it around there, so around that schedule. So hopefully we can be talking a lot more about UFC soon.
So, hopefully that should be the plan. You want to be looking to have one out on the Wednesday and the Thursday, one about the previous card, one about the upcoming card. Well, exactly. Just for reiteration, but just, so just so we can cover as much content as possible, and we can cover it in a good standard, because obviously, everyone wants to hear about the previous card. Everyone wants to hear about the upcoming card.
Yeah.
You can't talk about one and not the other, because there's always so much news with the upcoming card and always so much speculation. Anyway, as I said, thank you very much for listening, and see you next week.